Hare Krishna, friends. Thank you for all who are encouraging me and subscribing to the YouTube channel. Uh, those of you who have not done yet, I request you to please go ahead, view it, like it, subscribe it. So we will continue our reading of Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 3, and today we are starting our reading from text 29. We actually have been reading about the various incarnations of Lord Sri Krishna, and in fact we have kind of completed that portion, and we are coming to a very interesting portion where we are being advised as to knowing this, what should we be doing. So listen carefully, friends. Let's go ahead and start reading. Janma guhyam bhagavato ya etat prayato naraha sayam pratar ganan bhaktya dukkha grama dvimuchyate. Translation: whoever carefully recites the mysterious appearance of the Lord with devotion in the morning and in the evening gets relief from all miseries of life. Wow! So we are so lucky that we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, which is nothing but all glories of the Supreme Lord and all about His appearance and His activities. So we should just get into the practice of spending a little time doing this first thing in the morning and then probably once in the evening around sunset. So I'm going to try and make that a habit on as many days as possible by reading 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the evening, and I'll be posting that for all of you. Those of you who want to come ahead and join me in this practice are most welcome. Purport: in the Bhagavad Gita, the personality of Godhead has declared that anyone who knows the principles of the transcendental birth and activities of the Lord will go back to Godhead after being relieved from this material tabernacle. So simply knowing factually the mysterious way of the Lord's incarnation in this material world can liberate one from material bondage. Therefore, the birth and activities of the Lord, as manifested by Him for the welfare of the people in general, are not ordinary. They are mysterious, and only by those who carefully try to go deep into the matter by spiritual devotion is the mystery discovered. Thus one gets liberation from material bondage. It is advised, therefore, that one who simply recites this chapter of Bhagavatam, describing the appearance of the Lord in different incarnations, in sincerity and devotion, can have insight into the birth and activities of the Lord. The very word Vimukti or liberation indicates that the Lord's birth and activities are all transcendental, otherwise simply by reciting them one could not attain liberation. They are therefore mysterious, and those who do not follow the prescribed regulations of devotional service are not entitled to enter into the mysteries of His births and activities. Text 30. Etadrupam bhagavato hyarupasya chidatmanaha maya gunair virachitam mahada dibhiratmani. Translation: the conception of the Virat universal form of the Lord as appearing in the material world is imaginary. It is to enable the less intelligent and neophytes to adjust to the idea of the Lord's having form. But factually the Lord has no material form. Purport: the conception of the Lord known as the Vishwarupa or the Virata Rupa is particularly not mentioned along with the various incarnations of the Lord, because all the incarnations of the Lord mentioned above are transcendental and there is not a tinge of materialism in their bodies. There is no difference between the body and self as there is in the conditioned soul. The Virat Rupa is conceived for those who are just neophyte worshippers. For them, the material Virat Rupa is presented, and it will be explained in the second canto. In the Virat Rupa, the material manifestations of different planets have been conceived as his legs, hands, etc. Actually, all such descriptions are for the neophytes. The neophytes cannot conceive of anything beyond matter. The material conception of the Lord is not counted in the list of his factual forms. As Paramatma or Super Soul, the Lord is within each and every material form, even within the atoms, but the outward material form is but an imagination both for the Lord and for the living being. The present forms of the conditioned souls are also not factual. The conclusion is that the material conception of the body of the Lord as Virat is imaginary. Both the Lord and the living beings are living spirits and have original spiritual bodies. Text 31. Yatha nabhasi meghaugho रेणुर्वा पार्थिवोनिले एवं द्रष्टरी दृश्यत्वमारोपित पितं बुद्धिभिः. Translation: Clouds and dust are carried by the air, but less intelligent persons say that the sky is cloudy and the air is dirty. I want to read this line again because I'm actually totally amused at this point. Clouds and dust are carried by the air, but less intelligent persons say that the sky is cloudy and the air is dirty. Similarly, they also implant material bodily conceptions on the spirit self. Purport: It is further confirmed herein that with our material eyes and senses we cannot see the Lord, who is all spirit. We cannot even detect the spiritual spark which exists within the material body of the living being. We look to the outward covering of the body or subtle mind of the living being, but we cannot see the spiritual spark within the body. So we have to accept the living being's presence by the presence of his gross body. Similarly, those who want to see the Lord with their present material eyes or with the material senses are advised to meditate on the gigantic external feature called the Virat Rupa. For instance, when a particular gentleman goes in his car, which can be seen very easily, we identify the car with the man within the car. When the president goes out in his particular car, we say, there is the president. For the time being, we identify the car with the president. Similarly, less intelligent men who want to see God immediately without necessary qualification are shown first the gigantic material cosmos as the form of the Lord, although the Lord is within and without. The clouds in the sky and the blue of the sky are better appreciated in this connection. Although the bluish tint of the sky and the sky itself are different, we conceive of the color of the sky as blue, but that is a general conception for the layman only. Text 32. Ataha param yad avyaktam avyudha guna brahmitam adrishta sruta vastutvat sajivo yat punarbhavaha. Translation: Beyond this gross conception of form is another subtle conception of form which is without formal shape and is unseen, unheard, and unmanifest. The living being has his form beyond this subtly, otherwise, he could not have repeated births. Purport: as the gross cosmic manifestation is conceived as the gigantic body of the Lord, so also there is the conception of his subtle form, which is simply realized without being seen, heard, or manifested. But in fact, all these gross or subtle conceptions of the body are in relation with the living beings. The living being has his spiritual form beyond his gross material or subtle psychic experience. The gross body and psychic functions cease to act as soon as the living being leaves the visible gross body. In fact, we say that the living being has gone away because he is unseen and unheard. Even when the gross body is not acting, when the living being is in sound sleep, we know that he is within the body by his breathing. So the living being's passing away from the body does not mean that there is no existence of the living soul. It is there, otherwise how can he repeat his births again and again? The conclusion is that the Lord is eternally existent in his transcendental form, which is neither gross nor subtle like that of the living being. His body is never to be compared to the gross and subtle bodies of the living being. All such conceptions of God's body are imaginary. The living being has his eternal spiritual form, which is conditioned only by his material contamination. Text 33. Yatre me sadasdrupe pratishidhe swasamvida avidyayatmani krite iti tad brahma darshanam. Translation: whenever a person experiences by self-realization that both the gross and subtle bodies have nothing to do with the pure self, at that time he sees himself as well as the Lord. Purport: the difference between self-realization and material illusion is to know that the temporary or illusory impositions of material energy in the shape of gross and subtle bodies are superficial coverings of the self. The coverings take place due to ignorance. Such coverings are never effective in the person of the personality of Godhead. Knowing this convincingly is called liberation or seeing the Absolute. This means that perfect self-realization is made possible by adoption of godly or spiritual life. Self-realization means becoming indifferent to the needs of the gross and subtle bodies and becoming serious about the activities of the self. The impetus for activities is generated from the self, but such activities become illusory due to ignorance of the real position of the self. By ignorance, self-interest is calculated in terms of the gross and subtle bodies, and therefore a whole set of activities is spoiled life after life. When, however, one meets the self by proper culture, the activities of the self begin. Therefore, a man who is engaged in the activities of the self is called Jivan Mukta, or a liberated person even in the conditional existence. This perfect stage of self-realization is attained not by artificial means but under the lotus feet of the Lord, who is always transcendental. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that He is present in everyone's heart, and from Him only all knowledge, remembrance, or forgetfulness take place. When the living being desires to be an enjoyer of material energy, that is illusory phenomena, the Lord covers the living being in the mystery of forgetfulness, and thus the living being misinterprets the gross body and subtle mind to be his own self. And by culture of transcendental knowledge, When the living being prays to the Lord for deliverance from the clutches of forgetfulness, the Lord, by his causeless mercy, removes the living being's illusory curtain, and thus he realizes his own self. He then engages himself in the service of the Lord in his eternal constitutional position, becoming liberated from the conditioned life. All this is executed by the Lord either through his external potency or directly by the internal potency. With this, we will end our reading this morning. I am going to read again this evening. It's up to you whether you think you can catch up to actually hearing or viewing the video for just 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the evening. See, when we try to achieve anything in this life, nothing is easy, To pass out of school, we have to do so much of hard work. When we want to become a professional, then we have to do even more hard work. And then even to actually, get into a job or be an entrepreneur or a musician or an artist or whatever it is that you choose to do, nothing in fact is easy. Nothing is easy. You may enjoy what you're doing and therefore not mind doing a lot of it to excel and to shine in that and to achieve what you're out there to achieve. So obviously when we have to do so much for those kind of things, then you can imagine, if we are really looking for the real purpose of life and we want to understand and really transcend, from this understanding of ourselves to what actually it is, and to really travel through time to being in our real home with the Supreme Lord himself in eternal bliss, we will have to do some effort. It cannot be effortless. So those of us who think getting into spirituality basically means that we're going to find peace and bliss and all that right away by doing a bit of meditation, yoga, or whatever it is actually a myth. So don't get fooled by that. Let's understand what is being told, and if you're serious about it, you just have to follow the instructions of the experts in that area and experience the benefit of what they are saying. Once, believe me, you have a small glimpse of that experience, you want to go forward and you don't want to leave, even though it may seem difficult for you to catch up to what all needs to be done. Sometimes one lifetime doesn't seem enough to actually do all that we need to do and get there so that we can really transcend and fly out to our constitutional position. Anyways, with this, I wish you all a wonderful day ahead. Today, a lot of people in India are celebrating Gowri Puja, so I wish all of you a very happy Gowri Puja and grand preparation for welcoming Lord Ganesha, or the elephant head Lord, for those of you who don't know who Ganesha is, who is also the son of Lord Shiva, into our homes and our life. So I wish he removes all the obstacles in the life of all of my listeners here to grow in your spiritual life. Thank you so much. See you again in the evening. Bye bye. Have a great, conscious, wonderful day.